ever meet a guy who gives everything? His time, his patience, his loyalty. And somehow, it still isn't enough. He's the one texting good morning first, remembering her favorite coffee, showing up when no one else does. But lately, she's distant. Her replies come slower. Her tone feels colder. And he's sitting there, wondering what he did wrong, because all he's done is love her right. You can almost hear his thoughts. Maybe if I try harder, she'll come back around. But the harder he tries, the further she drifts. Ever wonder why loyalty, something that should be a blessing, ends up feeling like a curse? Why being the good guy suddenly makes you invisible? Today, we're unpacking the hidden psychological reason women take loyal men for granted. And trust me, it's not because they don't want loyalty. It's because of what happens when loyalty turns into predictability. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this happens, and how to protect your loyalty without losing your power, your respect, or your heart. Here's where most good men get blindsided. Loyalty creates comfort. At first, that's beautiful. A woman feels safe, secure, and emotionally grounded around you. She knows you'll show up, that your word means something. But over time, that same comfort can quietly dull the spark that made her heart race in the beginning. It's not because she stopped loving you. It's because human psychology craves a balance of safety and excitement. And when things become too predictable, the emotional energy that fuels attraction starts to fade. You see, people naturally value what they fear losing. When she's unsure, when there's a little mystery, her attention sharpens. Her mind stays engaged. But once she believes you'll always be there no matter what, she unconsciously relaxes her effort. It's human nature. The very loyalty that was meant to build trust becomes the reason she stops trying. She doesn't mean to take you for granted. It just happens when certainty replaces curiosity. Think about it. The guy who texts first every morning, plans every date, and never disagrees. He becomes predictable. Not bad, not wrong, but emotionally flat. She stops seeing him as the man she could lose, and starts seeing him as the man who will always stay. And that's when the paradox hits. Your loyalty, the very thing that should deepen love, begins to feel like background noise. It's not about changing who you are. It's about realizing that comfort without challenge breeds complacency. True attraction thrives when there's both safety and unpredictability. When she feels your loyalty, but also knows you're strong enough to walk away if it's not reciprocated. Attraction isn't just emotional, it's chemical. In the beginning, every new interaction triggers a surge of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Every text, every kiss, every moment of uncertainty lights up her brain like fireworks. Novelty fuels excitement. It's why early love feels intoxicating. But as the relationship stabilizes, that dopamine rush fades. The brain adapts. What once felt thrilling now feels routine. And when loyalty becomes too predictable, it stops stimulating that reward system. She doesn't feel the same rush, not because she's ungrateful, but because her brain has stopped chasing what it already knows it has. Here's where most men get caught off guard. Women, like men, subconsciously crave emotional stimulation. Not chaos, but growth, surprise, and polarity. When everything feels too safe, too certain, her emotional landscape goes flat. It's not about wanting drama, it's about wanting feeling. The feminine energy thrives on emotional movement, laughter, play, challenge, anticipation. And when a man's loyalty turns into routine predictability, she stops feeling alive in his presence. The relationship shifts from dynamic to domestic. This is the psychological shift most loyal men never see coming. Their love stays steady, but her emotional chemistry changes. She doesn't consciously decide to pull away. Her brain is simply searching for what it's missing. That spark of unpredictability, that polarity that makes her heart beat faster. Without it, she starts confusing comfort for boredom. The truth is, loyalty alone doesn't keep attraction alive. Polarity does. It's the tension between safety and excitement, certainty and mystery. When you understand that, you stop being the man who's too nice and start being the man who can make her feel safe and stimulated. The rare balance her mind and body are wired to crave. When a woman senses that a man's world starts to revolve entirely around her, something deep in her psychology begins to shift. It's not always conscious. It's instinctive. The feminine tests, not to hurt, but to measure. when she feels your emotional center tipping too far toward dependency, she starts testing your boundaries to see if you still have a spine. It's not about manipulation. It's about calibration. She wants to know, can you hold your ground when she pushes? Because if you can't, she stops trusting your strength. That's when love turns into quiet irritation and attraction fades into indifference. This is where many loyal men fail the test without even realizing it. When faced with distance, attitude, or subtle disrespect, they respond with reassurance. More attention, more validation, more "I'll do better." But here's the truth. She doesn't want reassurance. She wants respect. Reassurance says, "Please don't leave." Respect says, "I won't lose myself trying to keep you." And the moment you trade your self-respect for approval, she feels it deeply. Because a woman's attraction thrives on polarity. She wants to feel your warmth, yes, but also your edge. Being loyal doesn't mean being submissive. True loyalty has strength behind it. The kind that chooses her, but doesn't need her to feel whole. The moment she senses your motions are dictated by hers, she unconsciously loses respect. The irony is, women admire men they can't easily sway. When you hold your frame, calm, grounded, but not easily bent, she relaxes into trust. That's the paradox of attraction. The more you try to prove your devotion, the weaker you appear. But when you show that your loyalty is a choice, not a dependence, that's when she starts to feel that rare mix of safety and desire again. When loyalty loses its backbone, the roles in the relationship quietly start to reverse. The man who once led with calm confidence begins to seek emotional direction from her, waiting for her mood, her tone, her approval to decide how he feels, and she senses it. The energy flips. She becomes the emotional leader, and he becomes the follower. But here's the problem. Feminine energy doesn't want to lead in love. It wants to trust. And when she has to carry the emotional weight, attraction starts to die in silence. She begins to feel what she can't quite explain, a loss of polarity, a lack of spark. This is why so many loyal men feel confused. They're doing everything right, yet she's still pulling away. The truth is, she doesn't lose interest because you care. She loses interest because you care from a place of fear. When your loyalty is driven by the anxiety of losing her instead of the confidence of choosing her, it feels heavy, suffocating, and one-sided. She doesn't feel protected. She feels pressured. And the more she feels that imbalance, the more she emotionally checks out, seeking stability somewhere else, even if that just means solitude. Real loyalty isn't about staying no matter what. It's about choosing to stay because it aligns with your self-respect. A loyal man rooted in strength says, "I'm here because I want to be, not because I'm afraid to lose you." That energy creates attraction, not obligation. Because deep down, women don't crave endless devotion. They crave balanced devotion. A man who's loyal, but also grounded. Caring, but not desperate. The moment your loyalty becomes an extension of strength instead of fear, the dynamic shifts. And she starts to feel drawn to you again. Not out of comfort, but respect. Loyalty should never mean abandoning yourself. It's not about clinging to someone who stopped showing up. It's about choosing to stand where you're seen, respected, and valued. The truth is, real strength isn't in how long you hold on, but in knowing when to let go. Loyalty, when blind, turns into self-betrayal. But loyalty, when conscious, becomes power. You can love deeply without losing your edges. You can care fiercely and still have boundaries. Because being loyal doesn't mean tolerating less. It means giving your best where your energy is matched. When you start showing loyalty from confidence instead of fear, the energy shifts. You stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. You move like a man who chooses, not one who pleads. And that's magnetic. That's the kind of presence that reignites desire, trust, and balance. Because the truth is, true loyalty isn't about staying no matter what. It's about staying where you're valued. The moment you embody that truth, everything changes. She feels it. You feel it. And the relationship, whether it continues or ends, becomes grounded not in desperation, but in dignity. That's what it means to love with strength. Being loyal isn't the problem. Being loyal without boundaries is. Loyalty should elevate you, not drain you. The moment it costs your self-respect, it's no longer love. It's sacrifice. So tell me, Have you ever felt taken for granted because you were loyal? Maybe you gave your all and got silence in return. Drop your story in the comments. I read them all, and your experience might wake someone up.